Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more. New Eden City bustled with life, a sprawling metropolis of towering skyscrapers and neon-lit streets. But beneath its glittering facade lay a society bound by strict gender roles, where conformity was enforced by law. Detective Gabriel Harlow stood at the edge of the bustling city square, his keen eyes scanning the throngs of people rushing by. Known for his sharp intellect and unwavering dedication to justice, Gabriel had earned a reputation as one of the city's finest detectives. But now, he faced his most challenging assignment yet. A sleek black sedan pulled up beside him, and the window rolled down to reveal Gabriel's superior, Captain Rodriguez. "Harlow, we need to talk," Rodriguez said, his voice grave. Gabriel nodded, sliding into the passenger seat as the car pulled away from the curb. Rodriguez wasted no time getting to the point. "We've got a series of high-profile crimes rocking the city," he said, his brow furrowed with concern. "And we need someone on the inside to crack the case." Gabriel's pulse quickened at the prospect of a new challenge. He leaned forward, eager to hear more. "That's where you come in," Rodriguez continued. "We need you to go undercover." Gabriel's heart skipped a beat. He had gone undercover before, but never like this. The thought of assuming a new identity, of stepping into someone else's shoes, sent a thrill of excitement coursing through him. "As who?" he asked, his voice steady despite the flurry of emotions swirling inside him. Rodriguez fixed him with a steely gaze. "As a woman." Gabriel's mind reeled at the idea. He had never considered himself particularly feminine, but he was confident in his ability to adapt. If it meant getting closer to the truth, he was willing to do whatever it took. "I'll do it," he said, his voice firm. And with that, Gabriel Harlow embarked on his most daring mission yet, prepared to delve deep into the heart of New Eden City's underworld, one step closer to solving the mystery that lay ahead. As Gabriel stared at himself in the mirror, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease gnawing at him. The reflection staring back seemed foreign, alien even. His broad shoulders, typically adorned with a crisp suit, now draped in a delicate blouse. His strong jawline softened by carefully applied makeup. He was transforming into Gabriella, a guise he never imagined himself assuming. Maria's voice cut through the silence of the dressing room. "You're doing great, Gabe. Just a few more touches, and you'll be ready to step into the role." Gabriel nodded, forcing a smile as he turned to face Maria. She stood beside him, a pillar of support in this unfamiliar territory. Her eyes held a mixture of empathy and determination, a silent reminder that they were in this together. Taking a deep breath, Gabriel focused on the task at hand. He adjusted the wig atop his head, ensuring every strand fell just right. His fingers trembled slightly as he fastened the clasp of a delicate necklace around his neck, the weight of the jewelry foreign against his skin. "You're a natural," Maria remarked, her voice laced with encouragement. Gabriel chuckled nervously, the sound unfamiliar to his own ears. "If only it were that easy," he muttered under his breath. But Maria was quick to reassure him. "You've got this, Gabe. Remember, it's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about blending in, becoming a part of the world we're trying to infiltrate." Her words resonated with Gabriel, stirring a sense of determination within him. He straightened his posture, steeling himself for the challenges that lay ahead. With Maria by his side, he knew he wasn't alone in this daunting endeavor. As Gabriel stepped out of the dressing room, he felt a surge of adrenaline course through his veins. The hallway stretched before him, bustling with activity as officers hurried to and fro. But amidst the chaos, Gabriel found a sense of calm. He may be stepping into the unknown, but he did so with purpose and resolve. With Maria's steady gaze guiding him forward, Gabriel took his first steps into the world of Gabriella. It was a world filled with uncertainty and danger, but also opportunity. And as he embraced his new persona, he knew that he was embarking on a journey that would change him in ways he never thought possible. Gabriel stood before the full-length mirror, his reflection morphing into that of Gabriella under Maria's watchful eye. He adjusted the wig atop his head, feeling the weight of the unfamiliar strands against his scalp. With each brush of lipstick and stroke of mascara, he delved deeper into the persona he was about to embody. Maria's voice cut through the air, gentle yet firm. "Remember, it's all about confidence. Walk tall, speak softly, and let the world believe you belong." Gabriel nodded, his heart pounding in his chest as he slipped into the sleek black dress Maria had chosen for him. The fabric clung to his form, accentuating curves that felt foreign yet strangely exhilarating. With each step in his heels, he found himself teetering on the edge of uncertainty and anticipation. As Gabriella, he stepped into the bustling streets of New Eden City, the evening lights casting shadows across his path. The air hummed with excitement and danger, and Gabriel felt a surge of adrenaline course through his veins. He adjusted the neckline of his dress, the silk cool against his skin, and squared his shoulders, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. With Maria's guidance, Gabriella navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the criminal underworld, blending seamlessly into the crowd of revelers and rogues. He observed the subtle nuances of feminine gestures and expressions, mirroring them with precision born of necessity. But beneath the facade of glamour and intrigue, Gabriel grappled with a tumult of conflicting emotions. As Gabriella, he confronted his own preconceptions about gender, questioning the boundaries that society had imposed upon him. Each flutter of false eyelashes and tilt of his head brought him closer to the truth, yet further from the comfort of certainty. In the dimly lit alleyways and smoky speakeasies of New Eden City, Gabriel's internal conflict played out like a silent symphony. He wrestled with the duality of his identity, the line between Gabriel and Gabriella blurring with each passing moment. But amidst the chaos and confusion, one thing remained clear: he was determined to see this mission through to its conclusion, no matter the cost. With Maria by his side, Gabriel forged ahead into the unknown, his footsteps echoing against the cobblestones as he embraced the role of Gabriella with a fierceness born of necessity. And as the night stretched on, he knew that the true test of his resolve lay not in his ability to deceive others, but in his willingness to confront the truths that lay buried within himself. Gabriella stepped into the opulent ballroom, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The room buzzed with chatter and laughter, the air thick with the scent of perfume and the clink of champagne glasses. As she navigated the crowd, her eyes scanned the faces around her, searching for her targets amidst the sea of masked revelers. She spotted them across the room, a group of elegantly dressed figures huddled together in conversation. With a determined stride, she made her way towards them, her heels clicking against the polished marble floor. As she drew closer, she caught snatches of their conversation, fragments of plans and secrets whispered in hushed tones. One of them, a tall man with piercing eyes, turned to face her as she approached. "And who might you be?" he asked, his voice smooth as silk. Gabriella flashed him a dazzling smile, her heart racing as she launched into her carefully crafted cover story. "I'm Gabriella," she replied, her voice steady despite the nerves that churned in her stomach. "I heard this was the place to be tonight, so I simply had to come and see for myself." The man's gaze lingered on her, his expression unreadable. "Well, Gabriella," he said finally, a hint of amusement in his voice, "you've certainly come to the right place." As the conversation continued, Gabriella kept her senses sharp, listening for any clues or hints that might lead her closer to the truth. She danced gracefully around questions, deflecting inquiries with practiced ease. But beneath her composed exterior, her mind raced with the weight of her mission, the knowledge that every word and action could mean the difference between success and failure. Suddenly, a voice cut through the din, sharp and commanding. "Gabriella, darling, there you are." It was Maria, her colleague and confidant, weaving her way through the crowd towards them. Gabriella's heart sank as she realized the implications of Maria's arrival. She couldn't afford for her cover to be blown, not here, not now. But before she could formulate a plan, Maria had reached her side, wrapping an arm around her in a familiar gesture of camaraderie. "Sorry to interrupt, but Gabriella and I simply must steal her away for a moment.
Maria said with a charming smile, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "We have some girl talk to catch up on, don't we, darling?" As they made their escape, Gabriella breathed a sigh of relief, grateful for Maria's timely intervention. But even as they retreated to a quieter corner of the ballroom, her mind continued to race with the possibilities and dangers that lay ahead. Gabriella paced back and forth in her cramped apartment, her mind a whirlwind of doubts and fears. She glanced at her reflection in the mirror, taking in the carefully crafted facade of femininity staring back at her. The weight of her deception pressed down on her shoulders like a leaden cloak, threatening to suffocate her. Maria, her loyal friend and confidant, sat perched on the edge of the sofa, watching Gabriella with concern etched into every line of her face. "You're doing great, Gabby," Maria said, her voice soft but firm. "I know it's not easy, but you have to keep going. Lives are at stake here." Gabriella's heart clenched at Maria's words, the gravity of their mission weighing heavily on her mind. She knew Maria was right, there was too much at stake to give in to her doubts now. But the fear still gnawed at her, threatening to consume her from the inside out. I don't know if I can do this," Gabriella admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if I mess up? What if they find out who I really am?" Maria reached out and took Gabriella's hand in her own, her grip steady and reassuring. "You're stronger than you think, Gabby. You've faced tougher challenges than this before, and you've always come out on top. Trust yourself, and trust in the mission. We'll get through this together." Gabriella nodded, drawing strength from Maria's unwavering support. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the trials that lay ahead. She couldn't afford to let her fears hold her back, not when so much was riding on their success. "Thank you, Maria," Gabriella said, her voice steadier now. "I needed that reminder. Let's get back out there and finish what we started." Gabriella sifted through the cluttered desk in the dimly lit room, her heart pounding with anticipation. The case files sprawled before her, each one a puzzle piece in the larger mystery she was determined to solve. With a furrowed brow, she scanned the pages, searching for any clue that might lead her closer to the truth. Suddenly, her eyes landed on a photo tucked away in the corner of a file. It was a grainy image, but something about it caught her attention. She leaned in closer, studying the faces captured in the frame. And then it hit her like a bolt of lightning. "Maria," Gabriella whispered, her voice barely audible in the quiet room. She recognized the woman in the photo, a shadowy figure lurking in the background of several crime scenes. But it wasn't just any woman, it was Maria, her trusted colleague and confidant. A wave of disbelief washed over Gabriella as she struggled to make sense of what she was seeing. Maria, the one person she had trusted above all others, could she really be involved in the crimes plaguing the city? Her mind raced with questions, doubts, and fears. Could she have been wrong about Maria all along? Had their friendship been nothing more than a facade? And most importantly, what did this revelation mean for her mission and the safety of those she cared about? Gabriella's hands trembled as she reached for her phone, her fingers flying across the screen as she dialed Maria's number. With each ring, her heart pounded louder in her chest, the weight of the truth bearing down on her like a crushing weight. "Hello." Maria's voice came through the line, tinged with concern. "Maria, it's me," Gabriella said, her voice tight with emotion. "We need to talk." There was a pause on the other end of the line, a pregnant silence that seemed to stretch on forever. And then, finally, Maria spoke, her voice strained with tension. "Gabriella, what's wrong?" she asked, her tone guarded. Gabriella hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. How could she confront Maria about what she had discovered without betraying her own suspicions? But she knew she had to tread carefully, for the sake of their friendship and the success of her mission. "I found something," Gabriella said carefully, choosing her words with precision. "Something that implicates you in the crimes we've been investigating." There was another pause, longer this time, as Gabriella held her breath, waiting for Maria's response. And then, finally, the silence was broken by a deep sigh on the other end of the line. "I see," Maria said quietly, her voice heavy with resignation. Meet me at our usual spot. We need to talk face to face. Gabriella's heart raced as she glanced over her shoulder, paranoia prickling at the back of her neck. The once bustling streets of New Eden City now felt like a labyrinth of shadows and hidden threats. Her cover had been compromised, and she knew that danger lurked around every corner. A pair of menacing figures emerged from the darkness, their footsteps echoing against the cobblestone pavement. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Gabriella ducked into a narrow alleyway, her breath coming in short, shallow gasps. She pressed herself against the rough brick wall, willing her racing mind to focus. The stakes had never been higher, and she couldn't afford to let fear cloud her judgment. Drawing upon every ounce of her training, she devised a plan to evade capture and continue her pursuit of the truth. As the footsteps drew nearer, Gabriella's heart pounded in her chest like a drumbeat of impending doom. She closed her eyes, willing herself to remain calm and composed despite the chaos raging around her. The sound of voices drifted through the darkness, sending a shiver down Gabriella's spine. She strained to make out their words, her senses heightened to a razor-sharp edge. "We know you're here, Gabriella," one of the voices taunted, dripping with malice. "There's nowhere left to run." Gabriella clenched her fists, her resolve hardening like steel. She refused to let them intimidate her, refused to let them win. With a silent prayer, she steeled herself for what was to come. Taking a deep breath, Gabriella sprang into action, darting out of the alleyway with the speed and agility of a hunted prey. She weaved through the labyrinthine streets, her pursuers hot on her trail. Every corner turned, every alley crossed, brought her one step closer to freedom or one step closer to capture. The tension mounted with each passing moment, the air thick with the palpable sense of danger. But Gabriella refused to falter. She pushed herself to the limit, drawing upon reserves of strength and determination she never knew she possessed. With each stride, she edged closer to her goal, her mind focused on one thing and one thing only: survival. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Gabriella saw a glimmer of hope on the horizon. A narrow alleyway opened up before her, leading to a hidden escape route she had discovered during her reconnaissance. Without hesitation, she sprinted toward it, her heart pounding in her chest like a drumbeat of victory. As she disappeared into the shadows, a sense of relief washed over her, a temporary respite in the ongoing battle for truth and justice. Gabriella's heart pounded in her chest as she stepped into the dimly lit alley, the shadows swallowing her whole. She had trusted Maria with her life, but now, her betrayal left her reeling, questioning everything she thought she knew. "Maria, how could you?" Gabriella's voice trembled with hurt and anger, her fists clenched at her sides. Maria's smirk cut through the darkness like a knife. "Sorry, dollface. It's nothing personal. Just business." Gabriella's mind raced as she tried to make sense of the betrayal. Maria had been her confidant, her partner in this dangerous game. But now, she stood before her as an adversary, her allegiance bought and paid for by the highest bidder. "You sold us out," Gabriella spat, her words dripping with venom. "How could you betray everything we stand for?" Maria shrugged, her indifference like a slap in the face. "Times change, sweetheart. You either adapt or get left behind." Gabriella's hands shook with rage as she fought to contain her emotions. She had to stay focused, had to find a way out of this mess. But with Maria's betrayal, her world had crumbled around her, leaving her adrift in a sea of uncertainty. "I trusted you," Gabriella whispered, the words barely audible over the sound of her own heartbeat. Maria's laughter echoed off the alley walls, mocking and cruel. "Lesson learned, sweetheart. Trust no one." With a final sneer, Maria turned and disappeared into the night, leaving Gabriella alone with her shattered dreams and broken heart. She sank to her knees, the weight of betrayal crushing her spirit. But even in her darkest hour, Gabriella refused to give up. She wiped away her tears and squared her shoulders, determination burning bright in her eyes. She may have lost a battle, but the war was far from over. With a steely resolve, Gabriella rose to her feet and took a shaky step forward, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. She may have been betrayed, but she would not be defeated. Not now, not ever. The air crackled with tension as Gabriella and her allies crept through the shadowed corridors of the mastermind's stronghold. Every step felt like a gamble, every breath a risk. But they had come too far to turn back now. The sound of footsteps echoed in the darkness, drawing closer with each passing moment. Gabriella's heart raced as she prepared to face the final showdown, her fingers tightening around the grip of her weapon. With a silent nod to her comrades, Gabriella burst into the room, her senses on high alert. The mastermind stood before her, a sinister smirk playing on their lips as they surveyed their adversaries. "You've come a long way, Gabriella," the mastermind taunted, their voice dripping with malice. "But this is where your journey ends." Gabriella squared her shoulders, her gaze unwavering as she stared down her enemy. "Not today," she replied, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The room erupted into chaos as gunfire filled the air, bullets whizzing past Gabriella's head as she dodged and weaved through the fray. With each shot fired, she drew closer to her target, her determination driving her forward. Finally, Gabriella stood face to face with the mastermind, their eyes locked in a battle of wills. "It's over," she declared, her voice ringing out with conviction. But the mastermind only laughed, their laughter echoing off the walls like a sinister symphony. "You think you've won, Gabriella? You have no idea what you're up against." With a sudden movement, the mastermind lunged forward, their hand reaching for a hidden weapon. But Gabriella was faster, her reflexes honed by years of training. In one swift motion, she disarmed her opponent, sending the weapon clattering to the ground. As the dust settled and the chaos subsided, Gabriella stood victorious, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She had faced down her greatest adversary and emerged triumphant, the truth exposed for all to see. As the dust settled and the dawn broke over New Eden City, Gabriella emerged from the shadows, her heart heavy yet hopeful. The battle may have been won, but the scars of her journey ran deep, etched into her soul like cracks in the pavement. But amidst the wreckage, there was a glimmer of hope. As word spread of the mastermind's defeat and the truth behind the crimes was laid bare, the city began to reckon with its past. The rigid gender roles that had once divided its people began to crumble, like walls tumbling down in the face of progress. Gabriella watched from the sidelines as the city transformed before her eyes, its streets alive with newfound freedom and acceptance. People dared to defy the norms that had shackled them for so long, embracing their true selves without fear or shame. It was a slow process, fraught with challenges and setbacks, but Gabriella knew that change was inevitable. And as she walked through the streets of New Eden City, she saw the seeds of a more inclusive and equitable future taking root, nurtured by the courage and resilience of its people. For Gabriella, the journey was far from over. There were still battles to be fought and injustices to be righted. But as she looked out over the city skyline, she felt a sense of pride knowing that she had played a part in paving the way for a brighter tomorrow. And so, with a renewed sense of purpose, Gabriella walked forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For in the end, she knew that true victory lay not in the defeat of her enemies, but in the hope of a better world for all.